Yeah, we're going to have pain. We're not going to not have pain over this. But you can't waste it. You got to use it for something.
All these arrows in the sword I will keep.
There was nothing to hit there but that one pole. 3 foot either way, they both would have been fine. That's the only meal they get every day, is what they get at school. I mean, they were drinking water with wiggle tails in it. It was bad. Because there were a lot of ways that we saw that God was taking care of us, even in the midst of it all.
All right, well, today we have a very special guest, something I've been looking forward to doing for a long time. Miss Denise Hosch, thank you for being here.
Happy to do it. Honored you called me.
Well, I'm honored to do this. And before we, get into the episode, kind of just walk us through how you know me, how you know my family, and where that started.
Well, I think it was like 2004, we met your grandfather, and we ended up starting a small church work with him about a few years later. And what year were you born?
2005.
Your mom was pregnant with you when I first came to know y'all. And so when we started that small work, y'all were in the church with us, and my daughters immediately took to all y'all kiddos. Well, there was just you to start, and then Abby, of course. And so they would babysit you, and your mom was a lot like, I feel like I was a little bit of a mentor to her, but we were friends. And so that's how I came to know your family, was through church.
That's great. I know you said you feel like you may have been sort of a mentor to my mom. I know you were. I know she talks a lot about it, and I know without y'all, it would have been a lot more difficult than it already was raising the 4 of us.
Oh, yeah. Raising kids ain't for the weak.
I know she was very appreciative. But with this interview, and this is kind of the format I've gone with the people I've interviewed previously, is I kind of want to get a life story out of them, where you grew up.
How much time you got?
Oh, as long as you want to go. As long
joking.
as you want to go. No time limit on this. But with that being said, where did you grow up?
I grew up right here in Pike County. I was born in Upson County, one county south, because, of course, we don't have a hospital in Pike County.
Nope.
We didn't have one in 1966, and we sure ain't got one now. So I was born in Upson, and then my mom and dad I was in Pike County when I was, I lived in Upson County till I was about 4, but right across the county line. My grandparents were always here. My mom was raised here. So I've been in Pike County my entire life. I grew up here, out in the woods. We always said the poor part of the county because nobody wanted to live that far south.
I see. Well, what were some things y'all did for fun growing up?
Oh, Lord Jesus. Well, we were, like I said, we were so far south that we didn't have friends from school at all. You had the people that lived right around you. That was it. There was no, both my parents worked. There was no driving us anywhere. If we wanted to do something, we either rode our bike or we played with the kids across the road. And I had all boys. There was no girls anywhere. And my youngest sister was not born yet because she was 6 years younger than me. So growing up even, she was 6 years younger than me. She didn't do the stuff we did. So I had a crazy uncle who lived across the road. And he was like a big kid himself. He drank a lot, but for some reason, our parents let us do stuff with him. So most of my childhood was Harold dragging us over the mountain. He'd let us drive cars. We had mini bikes. We always had a motorcycle or a mini bike, and we may have one that ran, and the rest of them, we would tie the frames behind that one that ran and pull. We'd have like 5 bicycles, mini bikes, go-kart frames tied behind one motorcycle, and we would drive all over the dirt roads, just everywhere. It's a wonder we all survived. I mean, our life was crazy.
Wow.
I mean, it was a great childhood. It was very innocent, very innocent. We would go up on the mountain, and Harold he'd drive that. He had a '66 Ford Fairlane. He'd drive that thing up over the mountain, and we'd carry old car hoods up there with us and turn them upside down and ride down the valley of the mountain in the leaves with him. I mean, it's a wonder we didn't really injure ourselves. But, I mean, it was a good childhood.
Yeah. Yeah, people were, safety was not top
No. And he was drinking Budweiser the whole time. I mean,
oh, man.
I mean, back then, and I'm not a proponent of drinking and driving, but it's not like it is now. Of course, there weren't that many cars on the road either back then. I mean, and like I said, we lived in the woods, so we tore the dirt roads up. I mean, nobody had, four-wheelers weren't even invented then. Three-wheelers had just come out, and now they've outlawed them, I think. We had dirt bikes and motorcycles. I learned how to ride on a Honda 350, and I was, a little bitty scrawny thing. My feet couldn't even touch the ground. That's what I started riding a motorcycle on.
What age were you?
I was probably 10 or 11. Shooting guns. We shot guns. Harold would set us up targets, and we would shoot those 12-gauge shotguns and put a pillow right here because it kicks so bad. And he'd knock us completely over. That was my childhood. Does that tell you why I turned out like I did?
A little bit. So what were your parents doing at this time?
They were working.
So what did Uncle Harold do?
He worked 4 to 12. So he was at home all day.
Oh, I see.
So he was home during the day. And they were working during the day. And she left us with my meemaw, who Harold lived with. So Mom and Daddy was working. We was running the roads with Harold. We got old home videos of all that. And you hear my mama, when we put them on disc, we're filming. And she's narrating. She said, I didn't even know my kids was down there.
She didn't know what you were doing.
Lord protected us.
Oh, man, that's great. Well, so what was education like at that time for you?
Well, I went to Pike County all my life, and a year and a half I went to a Christian school in high school, but for the most part I was in Pike from kindergarten all the way through high school. I graduated from Pike. I went back and graduated my senior year. I don't remember. I remember I learned to read and all that, but I don't, and I remember some of my teachers, but I don't, school just kind of, I went for the social. I wasn't dumb. I made good grades, but when you're a kid, I didn't love school. I like being around people.
That's understandable. Yeah. I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah.
I'm just there. I like to talk to people.
Me too. I'm a social person. So, I like my friends, and I like doing what I was, seeing people. But I remember in second grade, I think it was second grade, my mama would when she dropped me off when I didn't have to ride the bus, I would cry and cry and not want my mama to leave me. But if I rode the bus, I was fine. But if she ever took me to school, I didn't want my mama to leave me with them people. That's probably why I homeschooled all 5 of mine, because I know how that felt.
I see. So you weren't big on the going to school. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, school's not for everybody, and that's okay, because you could still, you can still make something for yourself without going.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Furthering your education past.
But I remember even going to school, I would cry and cry at the end of the year because I didn't want to leave my friends. But then I would cry and cry when I had to go back because I didn't want to go back.
Yeah. What were your summers like?
Oh, we just run the roads all the time. We were on our bikes. Mama worked up until I stayed with my grandmother during the summers because she was up until I was 12. She died when I was 12. And from that point on, me and Gina stayed alone at the house. And Gina was 6, I was 12. And, by that time I had some girl cousins that had moved in up the road. And we had neighbors across the street. And Robert and Glenn would come every summer and stay with Grandma all summer. She lived next door, my great-grandmother. So and Walter and Ray would come and stay the whole summer with Harold. So I would always have all my cousins around. And back then, the Livesey Springs pool was open. And we would ride our bikes over there, and you could swim for $1. You could pay $1 and swim.
All day?
Yeah, all day. So we would go over there and swim. Some, not every day. But we tore the roads up with our bikes. We just rode everywhere.
No fear of anybody coming by and nabbing you?
No, they didn't want us. No. Back then, we run in little packs anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd have to take on all of us. So I had two neighbors across the street. Joe and Jeff Daniel lived across the street. And Joe was a year younger than me, and Jeff was Gina's age. So maybe a year older. And then, like I said, Lynn and Glenn, Robert and Glenn is what we call them now, but Lynn and Glenn when I was growing up. And then Donna and Teresa lived next door. So we had a little pack of people, and Walter and Ray were always with. And Harold was home during the day. So we had him to do stuff with. It didn't matter that he was 40-something years old.
So y'all were always looking after each other, had each other.
Oh, yeah,
back.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Were you ever a troublemaker growing up?
I don't want to say I was a troublemaker. I did get in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I was probably, if you had an idea, it didn't have to be a good idea for me to go along with it. I had one, when I was in middle school, I rode the bus, and we had we'd go through Concord and drop off. The middle school back then was in Concord. So they'd pick us up at the middle school, and then we had just a few people we'd drop off right there in Concord. And then the rest of us were all just homies, you know. We were there for the long haul. It took them a while to get us home. Well, one time, one of my guys I rode the bus with, we were the long haulers, you know, and he smoked, even back then. He had a cigarette on there. This one girl from Concord that we didn't like. And I told Betsy I was going to tell this story. And we didn't like this girl. And he was sitting next to me, and she was sitting in front of me. And he said, just singe your hair a little bit. So I took that cigarette lighter, and I went to cinch her hair, and it went, and I went to beating her in the back of the head. And we had put it out.
Goodness.
It wasn't bad. I mean,
There's no way.
But see, you go to jail for that now.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
We joke about it. Even now, I saw her. Her husband graduated with me, so I saw her at my 40-year high school reunion this past September, and she said, "You remember when you caught my hair on fire?" But we're friends. I mean, we were friends after that, even in high school.
Oh, so I'm sure she wasn't laughing.
It's under the blood of Jesus now. It's okay. But
that's hilarious.
These poor kids now, they can't do nothing. I mean, not that I'm saying you should set somebody's hair on fire.
Right.
Just say, but it wasn't my idea. It was my friend's idea.
You just went along.
I just kind of held the lighter up there and flicked it.
Oh, so sort of a troublemaker.
Sort of. I could get in trouble, but usually it wasn't my idea.
So were you mischievous? Did you try to hide it?
No, I was pretty open with all my little bit of rebellion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh man, I can't get over that story. That's funny because you're right. Nowadays, oh my goodness, you did that.
You go to jail. They'd lock me up.
Yes.
Them poor children can't do nothing nowadays. Like I said, not that I'm saying you should set somebody's hair on fire, but some things are just a learning experience. You know,
they are.
She learned not to sit in front of me, and I learned don't try to singe nobody's hair.
So did somebody have to come back there and like?
No, I beat it and put it out.
What did she say afterwards? Was she screaming?
Oh yeah, I mean it was. I don't remember really, but she even wrote about it in my yearbook, in my senior yearbook. She said something about it, even if you did catch my hair on fire, and we talk about it even when I see her because we don't see each other often. She lives in Florida now.
Still friends after all that.
Oh yeah.
How about that? That's great. So, did you ever have a job throughout high school, or what was your first job that you?
My first job, other than like babysitting.
Well, that you got paid for, I guess.
Okay. I mean, I always babysat and made money, but then my aunt had an alteration shop in Thomaston, and when I was 17, I went to work. I learned to do alterations.
What's alterations?
Like hemming pants, taking up the waist in pants, you know.
Gotcha.
That type of stuff. But, and And then I got a little job over the summer one time working in a nursery, like a plant nursery. So just little stuff. But my first real job was probably working up at Carter's. My mama worked up there. It was a sewing plant. They made baby clothes. That was probably my first real job.
Did you enjoy it?
No. I mean, I like the people.
Yeah.
But it's just like school.
There for the social aspect.
Yeah, I wasn't there to really work.
It's understandable.
And I had a little temper, so if they made me mad, I'd be like, I don't need this job. But I learned real quick you do need a job.
So how long were you there for then?
Probably a year, maybe.
That temper flare?
Yeah, that Irish comes out every now and then. That's what John says. Don't let her get her Irish up.
Oh, man. So how did you transition from that to what you're doing now? And tell me a little bit about what you're doing now.
Well, I stayed home and raised all my kids, so I learned that you have to be a servant. And so I started, I guess I started out directing weddings and, catering and directing weddings. And then a girl that I was friends with was about to have a baby, and she worked at a little restaurant here in town. And she asked me would I come in and wait tables for 6 weeks. And I had waited tables before when the kids were young, just on the weekends, while she had a baby, while she was out, for her 6 weeks. So I went to work at, used to be Pierre Sullivan's store. It was David's Grill at the time. And I waited tables there, and I ended up staying there 6 years.
Great.
And the people that own the company that I work for now were moving to Pike County, and they would come in every weekend, and I would be their server. So after I left there, about 3 years after I left, they sent me a message on Facebook and said, hey, you think you'd want to go to work for us? I didn't even know they owned this business. And they said it would involve some travel. At the time, my youngest was 13. So I said, I don't know. And they said, just do one trip. If you don't ever want to go again, you don't have to go back. And I went on that one trip in 2013, and then I've been doing it ever since. And slowly, I'd work that one and then be home for 4 or 5 months. And then slowly, I kind of took over running the business.
What is it that you're doing?
So I'm a mobile caterer. And basically what I do is my clients are pharmaceutical companies, and I go in and I set up at medical conventions in different convention centers all over the country, most major cities. And I only need electrical. I go in, I set up, and I mostly do coffee. 98% of my business is like Starbucks style espresso cappuccino coffee. Sometimes we'll do other stuff. I'll do sparkling ciders or, just whatever the client wants, cupcakes, cookies, but most of my business is coffee.
So are you over the business? Do you own the business?
I don't own the business. I don't, no. But I'm over the warehouse. I decide who works what shows. I manage the events, and I do all the travel booking. So I do almost everything.
Yeah. Except
for, I don't run all the shows anymore. I used to have to run a lot of shows, but since I pull back some.
So do you have a lot of people under you?
Yeah. I guess you could say they're under me. I'm not there with them, telling them what to do. I have some event managers that run shows too, but they defer to me or the general manager at the company.
I see. So do y'all, how often do you have to travel? How often are you moving around and going to these events?
Normally we have about 3 months out of the year that we don't work. We're very seasonal. We don't do a lot in January. I got one show going on right now in Los Angeles, and somebody else is working that. So usually I'll have one in January, a couple in February, 3 or 4 in March, 4 or 5 in April, 4 or 5 in May, and then 4 or 5 in June. And then we don't do anything July and August. Then September, it kicks back up again, like 1 or 2 in September, 2 or 3 in October, very busy in November, and 1 in December. So I personally have to travel this coming year once or twice a month. But I also have other people, but I'm not doing anything until March. So I got other people working January and February. But after that, I'll be doing 1 or 2 a month up until June. Then I'm off June, July, and August. Then I start back up in September.
So are they just contracts or something you have with the
Well, we do it on a show-by-show basis. We don't have contracts, but we have clients that are loyal to us, that we've been doing their business for as long as I've been doing this.
Oh, I see. I'm sure with those pharmaceutical companies, you just set your price and they're like, whatever.
Well, no, they try to shop around. They'll have $1 million booth, and we'll be the first thing they cut, our little bit of money. But it's okay. I mean, it's just the nature of the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
But my clients are pretty loyal to try to keep us in business and not use somebody else. I've realized that there's a lot of, I didn't even know this was a thing. I'd never heard of this business before I did it. Most people don't even know, have never heard of mobile catering, but there's a lot of competition out there. There are multi-million-dollar companies that do the same thing we do. And we're just a small little company in Griffin, Georgia, with our few little clients. And I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Don't want it to get too big.
No.
So you talked about, y'all do coffee and stuff like that. So I'm sure you're probably a pretty good barista then.
I am.
What's your favorite cup of way to have coffee, I guess?
My favorite?
You personally, what do you enjoy the most?
I like a cortada, but not the cortada that Starbucks makes, because that's not a true cortada.
Okay.
A true cortada is a shot of espresso and a shot of milk. Shot of steamed milk. But I deal with international clients who have been doing this coffee for years and years and years before the USA got involved. So when they want a macchiato, they want an espresso macchiato, a short. They don't want a big old thing of milk like we're used to here.
Yeah.
It's just a difference in what it was intended to be and what it has become.
So do y'all set up like a whole espresso machine and just...
Yeah, I ship all my equipment. I have rolling crates that are about 450 pounds, and I ship them to the site. And when I get there to set up, they're already on the show floor in my booth. I just have to unpack them, set up the machine, get everything going. And then when the show's over, I pack everything back up and ship it back home. And then we have a guy at the office. My nephew comes in and he cleans the machines for me and gets them ready to go out again.
So how many, I guess, cups of coffee are you making per show?
It depends. If it's a show with 20,000 attendees, we can do 500 or 600 cups a day easy. If it's a show with 5,000 attendees, you're not going to be that busy.
Yeah.
It just all depends on.
So do you have other people there working with you, just helping you make them, or is it just you?
Yeah, no. It depends. If it's a big show, long hours, I got to have somebody else there. I did a show, though, in Colorado Springs in November that it was a 3-hour day. There was no reason for anybody else to go. It was a small show. So I'm in Colorado Springs by myself with 12 inches of snow, driving around. It's crazy. But yeah, it depends on what the needs are of the client. Some shows are 12 hours long. You got to have a break. Nobody can stand there for 12 hours and make coffee. So most of the time, we always send at least 2 people.
Well, are these shows multiple days, or is it just a one day? Okay.
Yes. Usually they're 3 days. There are some that are 4 or 5. There may be one a year. That's 5 days.
And this company covers all your travel, all your stay, food, all that?
Yeah. Wow. Well, they give you a per diem for your food, but they cover all your travel.
And so the coffee is is it just already paid for? Somebody just comes up and says...
Yes, the client pays for we have a show-by-show contract with the client. They pay up front, and they have unlimited cups of coffee. But we charge them based on how busy the show's going to be.
I see.
So, and doctors, it's usually doctors or surgeons or scientists, nurses. So they just come up and get coffee.
A lot of the smart people.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, I mean, that's what the client wants, is them to come into their booth to hear about their pharma. So they pay us to do coffee to draw them into the booth.
Oh, makes sense. What's the name of the company?
I can't. I'm not going to. Yeah.
can't.
I'm not going to tell who my, I don't want to do that.
What? No.
Oh, my company.
Your company.
My company is 4 Points Hospitality. Yeah. Not my clients. Okay. Yeah. 4 Points Hospitality.
Cool. And so you said you've been there since 2013.
Mm-hmm. Long time.
Planning to retire anytime soon?
Probably not. I'll probably work till noon the day of my funeral.
Yeah.
John's got to retire.
Yeah. You just love to travel then.
I don't just love it, but I mean, I've cut back, so it's better since I'm only doing 1 or 2 a month. I can handle it.
That's cool. I know Mama talked about you did something with catering, but I never really understood.
It's an industry nobody's ever heard of if they're not in the industry.
Okay.
Because I'd never heard of it. Yeah. Thought travel. When he called me, I'm like, "What are you talking about? Do you need somebody to babysit you?" Because he travels for his job back then. The guy that owned the company, and he said, "No, it's a company we own." And I'm like, "Yeah."
Wow, that's pretty cool. You talked about how you stayed at home and raised all your kids and homeschooled. So talk me a little bit about that and how you came to homeschooling them in the first place.
When the boys were little, we fully intended to send them all to school. I mean, it wasn't even a thought to homeschool. But as they got about 3.5, I guess, I had just had Becca, and we had come in contact with people who homeschooled. Lord just brought people into our circle that had homeschooled their kids with success. We knew them well. And we felt like we saw the fruits of what they had done. So, and the more we thought about it, the more we thought, well, in all honesty, you only get about 18 good years with your kids anyway, whether you homeschool or whether you don't. So we really wanted to have that time as a family. It wasn't about the school system for us at all. Wasn't about the school system not being good or us being scared to send them to school. It was more about having that time and building those relationships with our kids. So they never went to school, any of them. Jeremiah, when he got to be a teenager, took one class at Cross Point Christian. Just a civics class, I think, or a Georgia history or something, just because he had to play ball with them. So, but for the most part, until they went to college, when Nathan started Gordon and John did Southern Crescent, Jeremiah did Southern Crescent, they never went away. I just wanted them home with me. We had fun. I mean, yeah, they got on my nerves, and I mean, I was a rough old mama, but they didn't have the constraints of having to sit still all day. I didn't want to sit still all day. Why would you make a kid do that? That was my thinking. I'm not saying it's wrong to send your kids to school. But for us personally, we wanted them home. We just wanted to spend time with them. We felt like it was more important that we have a relationship with them than go to school.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool, because I know for a lot of people, it's, concerned with the school system and how, all the bad influence in it and all that. So that's
and I understand that. Yeah. And, it's true. Bad company corrupts good character. The Bible says so. We know that to be true. However, that was not our driving force with keeping our kids at home.
So all of them were homeschooled all the way through. I bet that was exhausting.
But I wasn't a good homeschooler. I was very relaxed.
Okay.
I mean, I was hard sometimes, but I felt like as long as they could read and write and do basic math and had a good work ethic, they were going to make it in life.
And look at them.
And they all have made it,
Yep.
and they all work, support their families, and own their own homes and have good jobs. So,
That's great.
You
accomplished your job then.
I still got one left, but we'll see how she ends up.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really cool. Just how important it was for y'all to, have that family time together. Because you're right, you only have limited time.
And looking
with kids.
back now with all that has happened and the trauma that we have endured, I am ever so glad that I chose to keep them home with me.
Yeah.
So that makes a difference.
So when y'all started homeschooling, was it popular or was it kind of looked down?
It was coming into popularity.
And when was that?
Oh, Jesus. 1996. They were 4 in 1996. So really 1997 was when I started going to homeschool conferences. And back then, I think the homeschool conferences then were bigger than they are now. Because I think as it's grown in popularity, and the internet.
Yeah, more has been pushed online.
You have more things available to you online. Back then, we didn't have all that, so we would go to the conference every year. It was huge. I remember the first time I walked in, I was overwhelmed to walk into that book fair and see all those. It was just amazing. And to hear the speakers and homeschool legal defense was a big deal back then. And so, yeah, that was in probably 97 when I went to my first homeschool fair. That was a long time ago.
And it was just becoming popular.
Yeah, there were people that had homeschool, but they were the true pioneers because they really bucked the school system. Back when I first started homeschooling, we had the fear of the school system coming and taking our children from us.
Oh.
It was like, so we always were members of homeschool legal defense because you always had somebody that had your back if something did happen. We never had any trouble. But honey, I turned them attendance reports in on time every month back then. Oh, thank the Lord they all survived. They didn't never come get them.
What's a piece of advice you would give to a young mom that's wanting to, start homeschooling their kids? They have the idea of doing it, but they don't really know where to start.
Well, it all depends on the age, because if they're young, don't sweat the small stuff. Play with your kids, have a relationship with them. Don't let them sit in front of the TV. We didn't have TV either. That is a big deal. When my boys were little, we didn't have TV at all. So they had no choice but to do things. So that's the big thing. Cut out TV and the computer and have a good time with your kiddos.
That's a lot harder now, though.
It is. I can't imagine. John says it all the time. I don't think we could do it again. Because we were talking about raising our kids and how they all did turn out pretty well. And he said, I don't think we could do it now. It's a different world than the one I raised my kids in. And they're not that old. So.
Well, I see a lot of parents that they let the devices raise their kid.
Yeah.
Instead of doing it themselves. And I can't say much because I'm not a parent.
You ain't been there yet.
So I'm not sure. But just what I've observed is I don't know, it frustrates me when I go out to these restaurants and I see all of the kids and they just have their faces in these tablets and stuff. Like, I want to teach my kids to be there, be present, socialize.
Well, and they need to learn how to behave without being entertained.
Yes.
No, nobody knows how to do that anymore. Yeah. But adults are just as bad. We sit on our phone.
We do. Yeah, absolutely.
There it is. Okay.
And you grab it and you sit there and you scroll and you eat up an hour. You don't even realize it.
Right.
It's so easy to do because they've made it so convenient. It's at the tip of your finger.
Yep. The whole world, good and bad.
I know that's right. So you're a grandmother now.
Yes.
How has that been, and how many grandchildren do you have?
I have 8 grandchildren. It's been good. They're a joy most of the time. When you get up to 8, there's always somebody to keep. I was blessed that during COVID, my company completely shut down. Medical stuff was the first to shut down, conventions. So I was home for almost 2 years and kept my second granddaughter while her mom worked. So that was a blessing. The oldest granddaughter, I've always kind of had her. She's always spent the night. We've always been close. And then now I'm getting to keep my youngest granddaughter. She's 5 months old, or she's almost 5 months old. And so I'm keeping her Tuesdays and Wednesdays now while her mom works. So that's a joy. The boys, I've never really, not on purpose, but I've never really kept them that much. Easton, with his diagnosis, he had to be with his mom and dad a lot.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
He was diagnosed with leukemia in May of 2022. He is completely in remission now. He has no more chemo. He's done with all his treatments. He's doing great. He's a normal little boy, buck wild. But because of all that, he didn't stay much. He was very attached to his daddy, and he still is. He said he was going to spend the night about 2 months ago, and he made it till about 9:30, and then he was crying, "I want my daddy." So I just called his daddy and said, "You got to meet me and get this kid. I am not staying up all night with him." Yeah. But he's just very attached to Nathan because of all he's been through. But he is doing great. He is completely in remission. He goes once a month and has his blood work done, and he'll have to do that for, I think, another year. But his last chemo was in July. So he is completely cured. The Lord has really been and he really didn't have any horrible side effects. He did great. I mean, he lost his hair, of course, but no, he did great. So
that's amazing.
He's good. But yeah, the boys and Wilder, John's wife, Carly, she stays home now. When Emma was a baby, she worked 3 or 4 days a week, but now she's home. So she's got him, so I don't have to keep him a lot. And then I do keep Jeremiah's 2 boys here and there, but they're in school, and
they're some sweet boys.
They are good boys. They're great boys. So yeah, I keep them overnight some, but they're just the best kids. You can tell them to go lay down and go to sleep anywhere, and they'll just do it. They don't require any extra effort at all.
I remember when we were working over there building that little addition for them, and they would come out there all the time and be like, "What's this? Why are you doing this?
Yeah,
doing this?" And then we'd see them in the yard just playing baseball right there at the train tracks. Mm-hmm. They'd hit their ball into the train tracks. Yeah. Have to go get it, but
yeah,
they're
good boys.
So, family seems really important to you.
Yeah.
And so
it's all you can take with you.
That's true. And for me, that's something that I've kind of I guess struggled with in a way lately, because I love my family, don't get me wrong, but I don't always like to be here, I'm kind of...
It's your age. It's the season of life that you were in.
I don't like to sit still for long.
Yeah.
So I always got to be going and doing something somewhere. And I'm hoping that'll change as I get older. Okay.
It will.
Well, but I love my family, yeah. So tell me a little bit about all your kids. And I know you talked about your grandkids, but tell me about your kids now.
All right. Well,
their spouses.
I have twin boys. They are 32, Nathan and John. They're both married. Nathan has 3 children. His wife is McKinney, and he is a worship pastor at Centerpoint Church in Griffin.
Is that full-time?
Full-time. John has a wife, Carly. They have 2 children, Emma and Wilder, and he is a worship pastor at Northridge Church in Thomaston full-time. And then I had I have Jeremiah. He is 26. And he is married to Morgan, and they are foster parents to 2 boys, Davon and Damani, and then they have a little girl, Holland, who was born in August. And then I have Betsy. She's 24. She'll be 25 in June. And she's still home with me, thankfully. And then I had Becca, and she would have been 29 this past September. So that's it. And I have Davis, even though he's not really mine. He was Becca's, so therefore he's mine.
Yeah. Can you go into a little bit about that?
I can.
Tell me about her and who she was as a person.
Well, she was my middle child, and she was always letting us know that she was the middle child, and she was not treated nearly as well as everybody else for some reason. It wasn't true, but that was what she liked to claim. She was born in 1995, and she was tragically killed in a car accident July the 9th of 2022. She and her boyfriend were coming back from vacation with his family, trying to get back for a birthday party, and hit a bad storm. It was just an accident, just a tragic accident, and she was killed instantly. So, but as a person, she had a great love for children. She was just one of those people that loved people. I like to think she got that from me because I love people, but she was much more sweet about it than I was. Of course, she'd never had children, so she didn't have to get mean like I did. See, and it was all them children made me mean. But she, Davis was a pastor, and she would have been an amazing pastor's wife because she loved the ministry and she loved the kids. He was a youth pastor. She loved all those kids. She was just somebody that they could always go to, and she was always right there willing to help him. And she just had a love for the things of God and people. And she loved y'all, she felt like y'all were hers. And it's so funny because of the relationship that I have with your mother. Your mother had that almost same relationship with Becca, because Davis would always say, "Oh, Lord, don't say nothing about Sarah Steele. She thinks she's going to be just like Sarah Steele." So Becca always admired the way your mom raised y'all. So, and I'm thankful for that because, I have great respect for your mother, and she could have picked some worse people to admire, but she loved her people, and she loved the Lord. And I take great comfort in knowing that she's better. We the ones down here living in this hell, not her, Yeah. So, yeah, it was just one of those things that you just never expect to have to go through. But then when it hits you, you just have to figure out a way to get through it.
So Davis was her boyfriend?
Davis was her boyfriend.
Were they...
they were not engaged.
Were they looking to?
Well, they were. We knew that within a year they would be married probably. Yeah. And he had been a pastor for 5 years. And he had just resigned at the church and because he just felt like it was time. And he had taken a secular job. And he told me later, he said, Becca had me the worst years of my life. I wasn't making no money because I was in ministry. He said, then I finally start making some money and she ain't here. But he is an amazing young man and a great, great preacher. And he loves the Lord with all his heart. And he has had some real trauma in his life. And this was another traumatic event, but he still, gives God the glory and does his very best to put God first and do his will. And he still has a relationship with us, which I'm very thankful for. And I know that won't always be, but I'm grateful for it right now. So
what has the last 3 years been like for you?
A lot of change. In more than just ways of not having my daughter. John left his job, had to take a few months off just for mental health reasons, considering all the trauma we've gone through. We've had a change in our finances, which is not anything that we can't handle. It just has taken some adjustments. I just now have started cleaning out her room in the last 3 weeks because we've just left it. And that's partially on me and partially because I don't want to disturb anybody else. Because my whole family, all my kids, they were each other's best friends growing up. So that is one thing when you homeschool. Your kids will be especially close. So Becca was her best friend and her sister. And so she's had to endure the loss of her best friend along with her sister and all three of my boys. It's just a different type of bond when you're together 24/7 for most of your growing up years. And you know that because you've been with your siblings. But yeah, there's a lot of just trusting God that he knows what he's doing. You have to come to that point because, John felt like he had to go see the site where the accident took place. I've never done that. I don't feel like it wouldn't change anything. So, but, he said, the thing is, there was nothing to hit there but that one pole. 3 foot either way, they both would have been fine. So I know God had a reason. I don't know what it is. I know he has to get glory from it. Because if we're not going to give him glory in the bad times, how can we give him glory in the good times? I mean, he expects us to, and I have seen good come out of it. Not for us personally. We're not thrilled, but I've seen children saved and I've seen schools built for, kids that don't have anything in her name. And I've seen people support things in her name that would never have happened had this not happened. Not that I'm not saying it was worth my daughter's life. I'm just saying God has to get glory from it. And if we can't waste our pain, I say that all the time. Yeah, we're going to have pain. We're not going to not have pain over this, but you can't waste it. You got to use it for something. And, that's what we try to do. I don't know that I always succeed, but I try to use her memory for good. But the last 3 years, they've been hell. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, it's not been, we all have our days. And I'm a very private griever. I'm not private about anything else. I don't know why I'm private about that. But anyway, I tend to grieve when I'm alone. And that's fine. I mean, everybody grieves in their own way. But after the accident to start with, if I had something to say, I'd just get on Facebook and say it. I mean, I was just like, okay, this ain't a competition. Y'all ain't grieving like we are. I was very real in the first few months. Not that I was not praising God and grateful for all that, because there were a lot of ways that we saw that God was taking care of us, even in the midst of it all. But, the last 3 years have been an adjustment.
How old was she when she passed?
She was 26, almost 27. Yeah, she would have been 27 in September after the accident in July.
You said something about schools being built in her name.
Yes. She went to Guatemala with us a few times, and we had already built 2 schools in Guatemala. One's called Jehovah Jireh, and the other one is Toca. Well, Toca was only a grade school. And it was, Jehovah Jireh is a school that's more for middle-class people. I mean, we do we let people sponsor children so they can go there because their families can't afford for them to go there, but it's in a better part of town. Well, when we would go out to the dump, and these kids were living in the dump with their parents. And I mean, they had no running water. There was wild pigs and dogs running around. It smelled horrible. Their parents were like pulling recyclables out of the dump and selling them to make a living. So the kids had no school. You have to pay to go to school in Guatemala. You have to be able to afford your books, your tuition, and your uniforms to go to any school. So
there's no public school system in place there?
Everything in Guatemala you have to pay for. So they ended up, those kids had, I mean, they didn't even know basic hygiene. I mean, they were drinking water with wiggle tails in it. It was bad. So our church went in with another church and we purchased some land to start a school for those kids that were in the dump. Not their parents don't have jobs. They're bad off. And it was called TOCA. And it was a grade school. So we had about 50 or 60 kids that were, first grade through fifth grade. Well, after Becca's accident, I called Mary and asked her, could I send them some money? And what I basically wanted to do was tithe her life insurance into that ministry. Well, then Mary called me back a few days later and said, hey, what you've given me is enough to start a middle school. So, and those are the same kids that Becca had relationships with. They had aged out and were back on the street. So we started Becca's Place, and it is a middle school. It's part of TOCA, but it's the middle school. And it is for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And by the time they get out of 8th grade, they can go take the GED, pretty much. And we actually have another school that's an adult school. When they get 16, they can go there. But, so we started Becca's Place, and that was in 2023. Yeah, we opened it the year after. We had completely built it and dedicated it by 2023 when I went down in June. And it had, I think there was 30 students already the first year. And it just gets bigger and bigger. Every year, I think there's 60 students this year at Becca's Place.
So they're doing pretty well then.
They are. Our church raised enough this year to fund the school for the whole year. But I mean, we have sponsors too that will donate just for Becca's Place. So, because we have to pay the teachers, we have to pay, for their uniform. We pay for their uniforms, their books, their teachers, everything. And we're actually going down again in June. We go every year in June. And I'm not sure if we're going to build a chapel right off of Becca's Place for the kids that are in the school.
So do they teach them about the Word of God there?
They do. Yeah. And some of those kids actually are talking about going into ministry. And that's one of the reasons we're building the chapel already. And what's so funny is their parents, like most of those kids, that's the only meal they get every day is what they get at school. And their parents will come and hang out. And I mean, it's just heart-wrenching if you ever go to see how these people have to live. I mean, they don't have anything. They're living in little shacks on the side of them because they ran them out of the dump after we started the ministry there in 2016. They ran them out of the dump because the government said, no, you can't have a school. The kids can't be out here. Well, those kids had been there but see, we shone a light on by starting a school, we shone a light on the way the government was not taking care of their people. So they made them move out of the dump. So now they just live in the hills around the dump so they can go down and work. But I mean, it's just a little lean-to on the side of a hill with a tarp over it. I mean, they don't have homes. It's crazy. Anybody could just go in and do anything to them. It breaks my heart because I think how do you let your kid just sleep on the floor and anybody can come in, and it's just bad.
Is there pushback from the parents on the Bible being taught?
No. They are all so thrilled that their kids are getting a meal and getting taught something every day. And we even have had, like for the parents, for the women, they did like a barbering class there for them to learn to cut hair, and sewing classes and stuff in the evenings there at the school for the parents. Because a lot of these women don't have husbands. It's just sin will eat you alive and hang you out to dry. But that's when we got to go in and show them the way and bless them.
Yeah.
Because if you don't bless them, they're not going to hear.
Well, thank you for sharing all that with me.
Not a problem.
Let's take a real quick break before we get into the rest of the interview.
All righty.
All right, Miss Denise, we're back from the break, and what I kind of want to go into now is just your relationship with Jesus. And so, what was your earliest encounter with Jesus?
I was probably 7, 8, or 9 in that area, and the church that we went to when I was little. My mom and dad did not go to church. My dad drank a lot. Neither of them were saved. And there was a church like 2 doors down from our house, from where Mama lives now, that little white church right before you turn down our driveway. And they would come pick me up on the church bus and wouldn't come up the driveway at Mama's because, you know, it was a bad driveway back then. It wasn't paved. And I would have to walk down and to the end of the road. And I mean, I could have walked. It was 2 doors down. But anyway, so I started going to church. They started picking me up for church. And then my mama started coming and she got saved. And then after that, 3 months later, my daddy got saved. And my earliest recollection of coming to know the Lord was, of course, you know, if you're raised in church and you're a child, you remember the Lord tugging at your heartstrings while you're back there, and them giving back then they gave the old timey altar call, you know, where you have to just as I am's playing and all that. And so I remember going down and giving my heart to the Lord, but then I remember thinking afterwards, well, did that really do anything? I mean, you know how you are.
Yeah.
So, but I was raised in church from that point on. I mean, I always...
How old were you?
I was probably about... I might have been 9 or 10. Because Daddy got saved when I was 9. And it was shortly after that. But then... And, you know, we were always church kids. You know, my mama, immediately after she got saved, we were the type, you get saved and you start working in the church. You don't sit on a pew. You know, Daddy started leading the singing. It was a little bitty church, you know, had a call-up choir. Come on up to the choir, y'all. You know, anybody, whether they could sing or not, they'd come up and sing in the choir. And, you know, we're going to sing this number out of the hymnal, that type of little country church. And Mama started, of course, teaching Sunday school and doing the church books. And so we were always very involved from the time we started going. When Mama got saved, boom, we were in. And so all I remembered was church. And then in 1977, right after that, we built, I think it was in 77, maybe 78, we built a new church over on Highway 109. And we were over there until 2004. When we built the church on Highway 19, because all these years I went to the same church. And by that point, I'd already had all my kids, and by 2004, but I was raised it was Mountain View Assembly of God when I was little, and then they changed the name to Molina Assembly of God when we moved over on 109, and then now it's Pike Assembly on Highway 19. So same church, just moved to different locations as the church grew, and you know, different people came in, and so same congregation though. And I still love that church. I still love the people there. But, we're at Center Point. We've been there for 14 years. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Was there ever a time where you strayed away from Jesus?
Oh, yes, honey. Yeah. I was I don't, you didn't ask me was I a troublemaker, but I was a pretty good kid up until I got about 19. And at 19, I moved out on my own and was hanging with people that didn't go to church, did not love Jesus. And I had already kind of strayed from the Lord before I moved out, because that's the reason I moved out, because, you just want your freedom. You want to do what you want to do. And I moved out at 19 and was kind of just doing my own thing for quite a while. Got married during that time and divorced. And then I remember distinctly, I was back in church when John and I got together. He was not a Christian, but he would go to church with me. And I was back in church, but I wasn't really sold out. I wasn't really working in the church. I wasn't really doing what I was just going to church on Sunday with my mom and daddy, because I was back at home by that point. And I remember when John and I got married, we got married in 1991, August. And I got pregnant in December of 1991 with the twins. And I remember distinctly driving down Highway 109, and we lived in Molina at the time. And I remember saying, okay, Lord, I'm done. That's it. I'm about to have children. I'm sold out. I'm going to live right, because you can't raise godly kids without God. So, and John still was not a Christian at the time. And my mama, we'd have prayer every Wednesday night at church, and she put his name on the prayer list, and she put that John would be saved before the twins were born. That was her prayer. And he came to know the Lord alone in the bathroom at work on June the 12th, 1992. And they were born July 25th, 1992. So God answered our prayers, and, but I remember that ride and saying, okay, God, I'm done with the world. I'm on, and that was when I really made that conscious decision that I was done. I mean, in all my childhood, I was good. I always went to church. But when I got 19, I had that little bit of a period and if you could go back and take it back, you would. But it made you who you are, and it made you realize the blessings that are in. Because if I had not had that first marriage, I would not be as appreciative as I am of the husband that I have. So you can't second guess things. Just got to roll with it.
Was there like an aha moment when you were like, or a great experience that you had with God at church or something that really changed your trajectory that you were on?
I mean, I think just getting pregnant did it.
It was a wake-up call?
Yeah. I mean, I had it. I mean, we've been Pentecostal my whole life. We've had great experiences in church. It's not like we have not felt the Spirit move or been slain in the Spirit or not that at all. But I think that was my wake-up call. Okay, it's time to stop playing with God and, you got kids coming. It's time to act like you got some sense.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I was crazy after me and John married. I wasn't. I was in church. But I just wasn't sold out and serious.
What do you think? Where do you think you would be if you without Jesus right now?
Oh Lord!
With your family, raising them, and all of that.
Oh, we'd be a mess. We'd all hate each other, I'm sure, because I'm a little crazy with Jesus. Can you imagine me without?
Oh boy!
I mean, I'd beat them children to death. I'd be in jail somewhere. But the Lord gives you the grace you need as you need it, and it's different for different seasons of life. I'm a lot more patient now with my grandchildren than I was with my own children. But see, I'm not responsible for their upbringing.
Yeah.
When you have your own kids and you know that you're responsible for turning out a decent human being, you don't let the little foxes spoil the vines. I mean, you nip it in the bud. If it's a character issue, you need to handle it immediately. I mean, I didn't sweat the small stuff. We know they ran around like wild Indians all the time. But, I mean, the character issues, you got to handle it. And you got to have a good relationship with them. They still love me, I think. They still come eat every Sunday.
Is it because they love you or they just love your food?
They love the food, I think. But it does promote unity when you have to sit across the table and break bread with people.
Yeah. There's something special about it.
There is. And my mother always did it for us. My grandmother did it. You know, my great-grandmother always cooked on Sunday. And I just think there's something special about, you know, and families don't always get along. But when you sit across the table from somebody once or twice a month, you know you're going to see them again in another 2 weeks. And you kind of have to get over little petty stuff. So.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's been many a times that we've had to get over the petty stuff because we're all close to it.
Right. And you just, like I said, you don't sweat the small stuff. If it ain't going to matter in 5 years, it don't matter now. But character issues matter in 5 years.
Yeah.
So you have to handle those quickly.
Cut them off at the source.
Mm-hmm.
Before we wrap up kind of here, what is a piece of advice that you would give, just life advice, anything, any type of advice to someone listening?
Well, first and foremost, I got 2 pieces.
Okay.
The first one, of course, is that you have to keep Jesus at the center, because without him, everything we have is nothing. It's a vapor. It's going to be gone. You know, if you don't have that relationship with him, hard times are going to come and you're going to be left flat on your face. The other thing is to savor every moment, because you never know when it's your last one. And I'm not talking about just Becca. I mean, when your kids come running in and jump in your lap, there's going to be a last time they do that. You don't realize it at the time. And you want to say, get off of me. My Lord, you were always running me crazy. But there's going to be a time when they don't do that anymore. Every goodbye. And I learned that years ago, to make time for goodbyes, because you never know. That may be the last goodbye you get. So a lot of people I know say, well, I'm not going to tell them bye because I just get upset. You better tell them bye, because that may be the only memory you have. So just savor every moment, you know, the ones that are annoying and the ones that are great, because you may not ever get to do it again, no matter what it is. That's my piece of advice.
That's great. My last question is this: what do you want to be remembered by? What do you want?
Oh, well, I was like
family
everybody just remember me because I was wonderful and so sweet and kind, but that wouldn't be realistic. Probably just that I loved well, that I love people, and that I showed the love of Jesus to people.
Well, I can say that people already know you that way.
Oh, you're sweet.
So, well, I want to thank you so much for doing this. This has been a true honor for me, true joy.
You're sweet.
And I was just, when Mama told me, because I know she reached out to you about doing this, and when she told me she said she'd do it, I was really excited. I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, I appreciate you having me.